Hey guys, another edition of Brown's Thoughts here off the Mike Sports Network. So I didn't get a chance to react, but the owners' meetings happening this week, and a big quote came out from Jimmy Haslam, basically saying the Deshaun Watson move was a swing and a miss. First of all, wrong sport. That's a bat and ball sport that's going on in baseball. But I'm glad that Jimmy Haslam is taking some level of accountability here. That being said, it's about a year and a half, 2 years too late. We knew this pretty early on that this was a disaster. And only after the 3-14 season that happened did we kind of come to this point where, hey, they've got the number 2 pick in the draft, and they might be considering taking a quarterback. And here we are, and they're finally admitting, hey, we screwed up, and they've got to fix it. What's wild about this is Deshaun Watson is still on the roster. He's still on the roster. He's probably not playing this year, but that's as big an indication as ever that the Deshaun Watson era is over. I knew this once he tore his Achilles. I think it was like week 7 of last year. Once he tore his Achilles, I was like, this is over. This is over. So we're moving on. The question now becomes, and I've been talking about this a lot on this channel because now we're into the month of April at the time of this recording. We are a few weeks away from the draft. The Browns are picking number 2 overall. The vibes that I am getting right now is I don't think they're taking Shedeur Sanders. I think Cam Ward is going number 1, whether it's to Tennessee, New York, somewhere else. Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick. And it comes down to, do they want Abdul Carter? Do they want Travis Hunter? Or are they trading back? If they are staying at 2, I'm cool with either one. I think the vibe that I am getting from the rumors that I have been hearing and everything that's been, going around the league, I think the Browns are taking Travis Hunter at number 2. That's the best player in that him or Abdul Carter. It's like 1A, 1B, best player in the draft. Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Abdul Carter's got an injury on him. He's had a little bit of an injury history. He hasn't had a lot of experience. Travis Hunter can play both ways. You can figure out if he's a wide receiver or a corner. And listen, hey, all this talk about them taking a Colorado guy, why not take the guy who won the damn Heisman Trophy? Don't take the guy who threw him the ball. The guy who threw him the ball is, granted, listen, I've been a little bit harsh on Shedeur. I think he's a fine prospect. But let's be real. He's not the 2nd pick in the draft. That's the reality of the situation. And the reason why we've been having these conversations and we've been talking about this and laboring at this is, one, the Browns have had this quarterback issue since 1999. And they just famously and just, notoriously just absolutely flamed out with one of the worst trades known to man, not just in the NFL. This is probably the worst transaction in the history of American sports. That is not an exaggeration. It is the worst transaction in the history of American sports because they gave up all those picks. They gave up all that money. They still are not out of this contract. They still have him for 2 more years, and they still have a bunch of dead cap money that they've got to eat, so they can't even cut him. So they are still just suffering through what is one of the worst overall transactions of all time. So I totally get the sentiment that, hey, we've got to take a quarterback. But here's the reality. When it comes down to it, when you are 3-14 and, you're going back, I understand you have an offensive coach. You don't need to go all the way to, fix, the position saying, yeah, we don't. If the quarterback isn't there, and I don't think he is at number 2, you want to trade back and maybe get him? Fine. But, and also, let it be somebody else's problem. Because everybody's like, oh, are we going to regret that we passed on Shedeur? Guys, let's not do this. Okay. I don't think he's worth the pick. There's some people who are making Andy Dalton comparisons, and Andy Dalton was a pretty good quarterback. He was a 2nd-round pick. But that's not a guy you take number 2 overall. You take the best player available. You take the best player available. We had this exact same conversation 8 years ago in 2017 when the Browns had the number 1 overall pick. You guys remember what happened there? There was rumors last week before, hey, Browns might take Mitch Trubisky. What the fuck are we doing? And then the Browns turned in the card. It was Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, yes, we had the whole, situation that was, a big conversation starter, but he's now signed up and presumably is going to probably finish his career as a Cleveland Brown. We'll see if that ends up being the case. But he took the money and he got paid. Good for him. And he's been one of the best defensive players in the NFL for for most of his career when he's been healthy. So they made the right decision there when they picked, Myles Garrett over Mitch Trubisky. Yes, I understand Patrick Mahomes was in that draft. Patrick Mahomes also didn't go until like 10th overall in that draft. Deshaun Watson was also in that draft. They ended up trading for him. We all know how that went. But the point is, they didn't force the quarterback in that draft. They took their guy, Baker Mayfield, the next year, and they had him in the building. And then, he's gone on to do great things in Tampa. That's a whole other separate issue. The point is, you don't need to force the quarterback just because your ownership and everybody has now admitted that this was a failure on the part of them and that you need to do something better. But even Jimmy Haslam said, hey, we are not going to force this. And I hope they don't, because it's just like, you're not getting any closer to where you want to go. You're not getting any closer to a Super Bowl. You're not closer to the playoffs. If the guy is not there, even if you want to surround him with pieces, I think the money is absolutely in getting more picks, getting more players that you can draft, and God forbid having to trust Andrew Berry to do his job, because clearly what this is saying is Jimmy Haslam basically has given Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry a mulligan and saying, this is on me. We're not firing you. This is my fault. Even though there's some stories and some speculation that may not be the contrary. So look, at the end of the day, they've got to take the best player available based off of what happened with this transaction with Deshaun Watson, them admitting it's a failure. And just the fact that, like, hey, if Cam Ward would be an argument at 2, if he's there, but he won't be. He will not be there at 2. I would be stunned at this point if the Titans or whoever is picking at number 1 does not take Cam Ward number 1. Even if Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter might be the best player in this draft, quarterback is such a premium value. And I think that when it comes down to it, Cam Ward is from a positional standpoint, and you also from just like, where the Titans are, I think they've got, or whoever is ending up in that spot, you've got to take Cam Ward. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, if Tennessee wants to just zig and zag away from all of us and take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter number 1 overall, I'm bound to be surprised. But the way that this has been going the last few weeks leads me to believe that Cam Ward's going to be the number 1 pick. So the Browns at 2 have got a decision to make. Like I said, there are 3 options, none of which are taking a quarterback. Option 1 is take Travis Hunter. Option 2 is take Abdul Carter. And option 3 is trade out to the highest bidder. And whether that's the Giants, the Jets, the Raiders, whoever it is that wants to trade up and potentially take a shot maybe at a quarterback, or likes, Travis Hunter, maybe it's the Patriots or somebody like that, and the Browns move back, could go get Mason Graham. You could, potentially be interested in, if you trade far back enough, Ashton Janty. You guys know I love him. Covered him a lot here on the channel. West Coast guy. It's just going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this edition of Browns Thoughts. We'll have a lot more draft coverage as we're winding down here. We also have college basketball season is winding down. A lot of crazy stuff going on there. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.